Shergar was a legendary racehorse whose short but brilliant career is still remembered today, not least for his searing victory in the 1981 Epsom Derby, still a record margin. His jockey that day, Walter Swinburne, summed up Shergar's immense talent by saying simply, "I was just a passenger." Shergar would similarly destroy other high-class fields with ease before being retired to stud in Ireland. And it was from the quiet confines of Ballymeny Stud Farm, County Kildare, that he would be kidnapped in the dark of night, never to be seen again. Shergar was a thoroughbred bay colt, born in Ireland, sired by the champion miler great nephew. His mother was a descendant of Mumtaz Mahal, a renowned broodmare with excellent heritage. The horse was sent to England for training under Michael Stout in 1979 and 80, beginning his first season of racing in September of 1980. He ran in 2 races, winning one and finishing second in the other. The following year, he ran in 6 races, winning 5 of them. 3 weeks after the famous Derby win, he won the Irish Derby, followed a month later by victory in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes by 4 lengths. After this phenomenal season, the Aga Khan, the horse's owner, took the decision to retire him to stud in Ireland, selling 34 shares in Shergar to a syndicate while retaining the remaining 6. It placed his value at £10 million. By his own standards, Shergar had not run well in his final race, the St. Leger. The Aga Khan commented, "He was just an exceptional athlete. All through the spring and summer he completely dominated European racing in a very dramatic manner, and after he'd run so uncharacteristically in the St. Leger, we knew something had gone wrong, but we didn't know what it was, so it was an easy decision to retire him before the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe." Shergar completed one stud season, and by February 1983 was about to start another. Then, on the 8th of February, around 8:30 p.m, 3 armed and masked men entered the house of the head groom at Ballymeny Stud Farm, Jim Fitzgerald, and told him, "We've come for Shergar. We want $2 million for him." Fitzgerald was led at gunpoint to Shergar's stable, from where the stallion was loaded into a horse box and driven away by other members of the gang. Fitzgerald was then driven around for several hours blindfolded, before being released 20 miles from Ballymeny. He was told if he contacted the police, he and his family would be killed, and that the gang would contact him using the code word King Neptune. Fitzgerald walked to the next village, called his brother to pick him up, and then called the stud manager, who tried to reach the Aga Khan in Switzerland. A series of phone calls reached the Irish Justice Minister, Michael Noonan, who advised them to call the police. By 4 a.m, the Aga Khan had been contacted and instructed the stud manager to call in the authorities. There's lots more to come in this video, but please consider liking, subscribing to the channel and sharing. And please consider supporting my work with a PayPal donation. The link is in the description. Thank you. The IRA were immediately suspected, since they'd carried out many high-profile kidnappings for ransom of wealthy industrialists in the 1970s. Fitzgerald also commented that the man who spoke to him during the kidnapping had a Northern Irish accent. First contact from the kidnappers came the same evening in a call to Jeremy Maxwell, a horse trainer based in Northern Ireland. Maxwell was told that they would only hold negotiations through 3 British horse racing journalists, Derek Thompson and John Oaksey of ITV, and Peter Campling from The Sun. The 3 agreed to come to the Europa Hotel in Belfast, from where they were instructed to go to Maxwell's house and await further contact. A series of calls came, but no progress was made, and the police were unable to trace any of the calls. A second approach by the thieves came on the 9th of February, this time directly to the Ballymeny stud manager, Ghislaine Drion. Drion, who was French, struggled with the caller's accent and the caller with his, but eventually the message was received. The ransom for Shergar would be $2 million. The Paris office of the Aga Khan took on negotiations, bringing in security consultants from the firm Control Risks. On Friday the 11th of February, they demanded proof that Shergar was still alive. The kidnappers said that proof would be left at a Dublin hotel, but when a representative went there, it was a sting to see if the police were present. The gang called to say that if the police were further involved, there would be consequences. On the 12th, proof of life was left at another hotel, a series of Polaroids of Shergar, together with a newspaper from the 11th of February. The syndicate concluded that this was not sufficient. When informed of this, the representative for the kidnappers replied, "If you're not satisfied, that's it." No further contact came, despite efforts through newspapers by the syndicate, and Shergar was never seen again. There was never any real likelihood of the ransom being paid. The gang seemed unaware that Shergar was owned by a syndicate, believing the Aga Khan to be the sole owner. Some members of the syndicate refused to pay, believing that this would only open the floodgates to other horses being held for ransom. The Aga Khan himself reluctantly believed that even if the ransom was paid, the horse was unlikely to be returned. The police investigation had absolutely nothing to go on, and had little chance of either recovering the horse or bringing anyone to justice. In 1999, IRA Supergrass Sean O'Callaghan claimed that the theft was an IRA operation to raise money for weapons. He said that very soon after the theft, Shergar had panicked and damaged his leg, which led to him being killed by the gang. He named men who had taken part. There is no evidence against them, although they were part of a later gang that was arrested and jailed for a botched kidnapping attempt on the Canadian billionaire Galen Weston at his home in County Wicklow. The IRA have never admitted involvement, however it seems likely that they were the culprit. Shergar's body has never been found. Many claims have been made about his fate, that he was shot soon after being taken, that the kidnappers never intended to ransom the horse, and the whole thing was a publicity stunt for the IRA, that he is buried on a remote farm, that he was sold to the Middle East, or that Shergar, one of the greatest racehorses of the modern era, may have ended up in a tin of Pedigree chum.